I said, Mr. Combs is in New York. Do you want to know where he is? If you want to know where he is, I'll tell you where he is, but he wants to surrender. He's here to surrender.
Trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008...
Feds raided Diddy's prison cell, and one particular thing they found, a handwritten note by Diddy, could get Diddy off the hook, a case dismissed.
The walls are closing in on Shaw Diddy Combs as fresh allegations, lawsuits, and incriminating evidence continue to mount. What once appeared to be just another high-profile celebrity scandal is now spiraling into a full-blown legal catastrophe. With each passing day, the case against Diddy grows more damning, and now even his legal team seems to be feeling the pressure. Attorneys are trained to stay composed under fire, but something just shifted in this courtroom battle. Newly surfaced documents allegedly contain explosive details about Diddy's actions, so shocking that his lawyer reportedly lost their cool. This dramatic reaction has left many wondering, what was in those files that rattled such an experienced attorney? And could Diddy's entire defense team be on the verge of collapse?
RBL says, how much time is Diddy facing? Shit, with these, it's probably life. If we're gonna be honest. It's gonna, I mean, he's 55 already. He ain't gonna be in there. They get him. Shout out to Mixed Chick, says funds for rent a wound. Rent a wound? Womb, okay. I don't want to, I mean, I was gonna make a joke, I ain't even say it. Shut up, lead. All right. Yeah, I want a womb. I don't want a wound. Big shout out to Faith, thank you.
Diddy has faced numerous allegations over the years, but a new lawsuit has just sent shockwaves through his case. The latest filing contains revelations so explosive that legal experts believe it could completely upend the trial. With this new evidence now officially part of the court proceedings, tensions inside the courtroom have reached a boiling point, making it clear that the stakes have never been higher.
What are we talking about today, guys? We're talking about one Sean Diddy Combs. Where does Diddy fall on the spectrum? Is he a man that can go 6 months, 2 years, 4 years without sex? He's not. The FBI went up in his house and what they found? 1,000 bottles of baby oil? 1,000 bottles? How ashy are you? Oh. That was lubrication. And it's interesting with sex, you know, there's nothing that will cause a downfall.
As news of the new evidence spread, reporters pressed Diddy's legal team on how their client was handling the situation. His attorney's response? Far from reassuring. Caught off guard, the lawyer struggled to defend Diddy's innocence while attempting to navigate the growing media storm. The weak response only fueled speculation. Was Diddy truly blindsided by his arrest, or had he always known this day was inevitable?
I called the prosecutors myself. I said, Mr. Combs is in New York. Do you want to know where he is? If you want to know where he is, I'll tell you where he is, but he wants to surrender. He's here to surrender. They didn't want him to surrender, because if he surrenders, they don't get to tell the judge that he's a flight risk and he's a danger. Because who, as a danger and a flight risk, would fly to New York and surrender? So they didn't want him to surrender.
So since September 5th, you had known, you expected it was likely he was going to formally face charges.
So I really knew he was formally going to face charges on March 25th, the day of the searches. When Homeland Security searched his Los Angeles home, his Miami home, and his airplane, I knew that day by looking at the search warrant that it's a bad video for Mr. Combs, and he said so himself when he gave his apology. This is 8 years ago, and the prosecutors are talking about him bribing a hotel security worker. There was no criminal investigation. This was just a matter of personal embarrassment because he and the person in the video were in the midst of a 10-year relationship that was difficult at times, that was toxic at times, but it was mutually so. And this whole notion that Mr. Combs is forcing drugs on someone.
As more evidence emerges, legal analysts have been breaking down the case, exposing just how serious the charges against Diddy really are. Sure Shepard provided an in-depth analysis, emphasizing how the newly surfaced documents could drastically alter the trial's outcome. If these receipts are as incriminating as they appear, Diddy's legal troubles are far from over. The latest lawsuit was just the beginning. New allegations have surfaced, adding yet another layer of complexity to an already disastrous situation. With each fresh claim, the pressure on Diddy's legal team continues to mount. And now, it seems that strain may have reached a breaking point. Could this be what finally caused one of his attorneys to snap?
Against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases. And you should know, to the extent the clients feel comfortable, we also intend to make these individuals available to the authorities, specifically to the FBI. And you should also know a few of them have already been spoken to by the FBI. Now, before we discuss the nature of the claims and claimants themselves, let me comment on the large volume of calls we have received since our first announcement. Even before the indictment of Sean Combs, to pursue cases in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs. You should know, in this group, it is evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females who have joined us to pursue these claims as plaintiffs. In this group, 62% identify as African American, 30% are white, and the remainder are Hispanic or Asian. The victims are from more than 25 states. The majority are from California, New York, Georgia, and Florida. And I want to focus on the ages of these victims. When we talk about the ages of the victims
As the prosecution strengthens its case, legal experts are assessing just how much trouble Diddy could be in. A recent analysis broke down the charges in full, making it clear that the situation is dire, and that the new evidence could be a game changer. With experts now suggesting that Diddy could be facing years behind bars, his legal
trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-off.
The biggest shock of the day came when one of Diddy's attorneys issued an apology to the court, an almost unheard-of move in high-profile cases. Now speculation is running wild. Did they crack under the weight of the evidence, or is this a sign that even Diddy's own legal team is realizing they're in over their heads? For a defense team that once exuded confidence, this sudden shift in demeanor speaks volumes.
Ori Spado, the accidental gangster. I want to give you the latest update, just fresh off the press. The latest. The U.S. Attorney has sent this letter to Judge Subremian. The government respectfully submits this letter in further response to the court's inquiry during the November 22nd, 2024 bail hearing regarding the applicability of United States versus Bustani, 932 F3D, I don't have to read it, to the defendant's proposed conditions of release. After reviewing the transcript, the government recognized that it may have misunderstood the court's initial questions. To clarify, as set forth in the government's opposition briefing and at the hearing, the government is seeking the defendant's detention based on his danger to the community, including the serious risk of obstruction of justice he poses, as well as the defendant's risk of flight. Because the government does not seek detention based only on risk of flight, relying primarily on the defendant's person.
The biggest shock of the day came when one of Diddy's attorneys issued an apology to the court, an almost unheard-of move in high-profile cases. Now speculation is running wild. Did they crack under the weight of the evidence? Or is this a sign that even Diddy's own legal team is realizing they're in over their heads? For a defense team that once exuded confidence, this sudden shift in demeanor speaks volumes.
Do you think Diddy stands any chance at beating the charges?
You know, first of all, I think there's going to be a different group of charges than what he's facing right now. Anytime you're in federal court, anytime you're not on bail, you have an uphill battle.
So you think more indictments, superseding indictments?
I would think there's probably a likelihood that may happen.
Wow. So you don't think there's a fighting chance that he's going to get the...
Oh, there's always a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, every trial you have a chance. You go with the presumption of innocence. But federal court, New York, you're in custody. It's a tough battle. He's got great lawyers, and the system will decide.
Do you think others will take a fall here? Like other names are going to be indicated?
I have no idea. Every case in federal court is challenging.
Right. Yeah. What's his best defense?
I don't know enough about the facts.
Legendary defense attorney Robert Shapiro, known for his role in the O.J. Simpson trial, has now weighed in on the case, and his analysis is raising eyebrows. Shapiro's take suggests that Diddy's legal team may be in far deeper trouble than they've let on. If a legal expert of his caliber is spotting major flaws in their defense, it may only be a matter of time before everything unravels.
Feds raided Diddy's prison cell, and one particular thing they found, a handwritten note by Diddy, could get Diddy off the hook, a case dismissed. I'm lawyer Ian Corzine, and this is the Lawless and Legal podcast. Diddy's lawyers showed up to federal court yesterday, and they argued that Diddy's handwritten notes from his prison cell by the feds should be suppressed. They're scared of the admissions and other statements that are in those handwritten notes. You'll remember that federal agents took these handwritten notes, allegedly, as part of a prison-wide sweep for illegal substances and electronics. Now, suppress means that Diddy's lawyers want these handwritten notes and the admissions and statements contained therein excluded, not included in evidence for Diddy's May 5th, 2025 trial. Diddy's lawyers also argued to Judge Subramanian that the case against Diddy should be entirely thrown out. They're arguing that 11 pages of these 19 pages of notes seized by the feds contain information and communications directly to Diddy's lawyers. And we talked about yesterday, there is a strong argument that when federal officials go into a prison cell without a warrant, without notice and opportunity to be heard by Diddy, then there are violations of the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments. If you want more on this, watch my video from yesterday. I'm going to put a link down below. Now, Diddy's lawyers argue that the feds taking these handwritten notes without notice, without a warrant, is so egregious that the entire case against Diddy should be thrown out or at the...
As courtroom cameras captured the chaotic scene, sharp-eyed observers couldn't help but notice Diddy discreetly passing notes to his lawyers. The contents of these messages remain a mystery, but legal experts speculate they could signal a last-minute shift in strategy. Is Diddy panicking behind the scenes? And if so, what does that mean for him? As the case intensifies, Diddy's attorneys are scrambling to secure his release, pleading for leniency and insisting that he has been cooperative. But the court isn't budging. Their struggle to get him out on bail is a major red flag, one that suggests the court views him as a serious legal risk.